Hi guys, Steve here today. We're going to be running through some of the new features and functionality of the latest version. Got some really important changes in Prima, linking with new products, and also just some general updates and improvements to the product. So we'll run through some of the key ones today, and then we've published on the help site the release notes. So I'll just drop you onto the screen and show you what we're going to be looking at today. We actually did a webinar a week or so ago regarding the credit control. I'm just going to cover that briefly, but there's a dedicated webinar to do that, because we feel like customers would want an in-depth view of that credit control process. So I'll discuss it in summary, but you'll have the opportunity there to recap on the credit control webinar. I'll put phase 1 of the contact manager. This is really around allowing customers to be able to manage their contact data better, and it's become more of an important topic on the subject of GDPR that's on everyone's lips at the moment. So we'll come back to that. A couple of new invoice layouts. Lots of our customers now have monthly invoice reports, and we've got some flexibility there with regards to some report layouts that you can customize for your company's branding. And the final one there is the print audit integration. So big change from Prima's point of view, and what we've got on here we think's pretty exciting, and will allow our customers to integrate better with an MPS, the leading MPS solution, and yeah, exciting stuff. So get started with the credit control stuff, and then we'll move through. So okay, so jumping onto my screen, we are going to run through the credit control stuff first. Okay, so essentially what it comes down to is, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but what it comes down to is in the admin area, you essentially can set up who can and who can't be in charge of credit control. And credit control, from Prima's point of view, in this instance, means who can authorize orders and take those customers off hold. So as an example here, we've got an order whereby Jurgen Klopp is putting an order through the system, and there's a potential credit limit issue that we're going to come into when I try and authorize an order. So just find the order. Okay, so if I go to authorize this order, based on that, what happens is in the company's customer, they would have a credit limit set against the account, and then on the back of that, Prima would also have orders going through the system. So the way the new credit limit works is it looks at anything that's already through the system, included in what you're going to put through in terms of authorizing this new order, and it will tell me that I can or can't put this item order through because it's on a credit limit. So these guys are on refer to accounts. So I'm just going to change that, and as I'm Jurgen Klopp here, what you'll see is I don't have the option, because I'm not a credit controller, to go and change that. So what it means is someone else in this business at the moment would need to go through as a credit controller and update that record. Okay, so they have to put them off hold. So I've got a user in here, which is Ollie Rolls. I log in. Sorry, I'm just on a different screen. I jump through as Oliver Rolls. Oliver Rolls is the credit controller, and what would happen is, for that account, for Churchtown, if I find them now, I would have the ability to switch the trading status of this account. Okay, so I could put them back to normal priority and I could process that order. On the credit limit side of things, what you would see in here is the exceeding the credit limit. Jurgen Klopp would not be able to do that, and it would. What happens is if I set them back to normal trading, save, logging back in as Jurgen. Still got them as referred to accounts. Just refresh that screen. I may need to come out of the record. Okay. So I'll move on from that. But essentially, what happens is you get a confirmed order, so that it will tell you that you're going to exceed the limit. And on the back of that, it will say you've exceeded the limit if you want to proceed, and it will take it to a confirmed order. And the confirmed order can only then be released by someone who's set as a credit controller. And then they can, if need be, they can update the status of that company record, but it would stay as refer to accounts until the credit controller decides to release that. So there's, like I say, the detail behind it gives the user a lot more control in terms of the credit side than you had previously, and the webinar regarding the credit control side will cover it in more detail. But in summary, it's being able to say who can authorize those orders and giving the control back to the finance team, rather than salespeople being allowed to just put orders through and not taking into account what's already in the system in terms of potentially 30, 60 days, whatever your credit terms are with your customer. Okay. The next bit I wanted to show you is regards to the contact manager. So I mentioned briefly there was regards to GDPR and what happens to the customer's information that you guys are going to need to be much more on top of, as are we, in terms of our Prima database. Essentially, the way you can view and manipulate contact data at the moment is, I suppose, through looking at the contacts in the list and looking at if there's a telephone number, looking if there's a mobile number, looking if there's a email number, for example, and removing that information out of the system. Okay, so what essentially what it'll allow you to do is export the contact list, manipulate the contact list, and re-import the contact list as you will need to do. For example, if coming into this GDPR thing, you're not allowed to keep certain people's personal information in the system, or you need to get rid of it, then you need the ability to update that in a quicker way, I suppose, than what you could do now. So if I show you in the, so you'll have all the filters as you've got now, but in the contacts grid manager, so if I search for primary contacts, what we'll have in here is an opportunity for you to export the contact data. So you see you've got this term at the bottom here where it says edit in Excel. So phase one is you guys being able to take this information back from Prima, make the changes that you need to change in terms of, I don't know, removing an email address or changing an email address, and then having the ability to drop that file back into the imports directory and it update the contacts in the system. Okay, so some of the rules around importing customers' contact details and updating customers' contact details and deleting records will still apply in Prima, but being able to change and manipulate the information will give you the opportunity to adjust the records as you need. And what I mean by that is, if there's history against a contact, for example, Prima still won't allow you to delete that because it keeps that information and the links between the sale and the contact and the location, but you would be able to remove the email address against that contact, for example, or change the person's name to not known. So the phase two will be the import of that file, and that is anticipated for the next release, I believe. So it's the start is you can start working on customers' contact data, and then after that the edit in Excel and the import routine which follows will allow you to update that. So I anticipate we'll be doing a training session essentially on this directly, because it's going to affect all of our customers when they're manipulating data, and certainly personal data in terms of contacts. And the other benefit of it is if you're doing tidy ups for email marketing and the anyone who's got some kind of direct marketing campaign set up in the database, the edit in Excel will be really useful. Okay. Next on here is we've got some new invoice reports. So if I just go to sales invoice lookup here, and like I said, what customers are using monthly invoicing. So a lot of customers do use monthly invoicing. We'll either just use the standard merged invoice, or if you've got by cost center, then we're running the cost center report, which will summarize the information by cost center and then give the detail behind. We've had some, well, they've been on the enhancement list for a period of time, opportunities to summarize it in different ways. So in this latest version, what we've put in is, as well as the cost center, you now have consolidated by location and a consolidated by customer reference. So to give you an example of that, just preview this report, and then I've got my breakdown of my delivery locations on here, and then the detail in the pages which follow. Okay, really nice ways of presenting your invoice data to your customers, and flexible as well. So taking on the larger accounts, this kind of invoice detail is necessary. Okay, so in terms of setup of those, it would be a case of you guys can just go into the report designer and adjust the information regarding your logos and your color scheme, etc., to your branding, and then it's ready to use. And if it's the customers that need it, then just the cost center report set up, you can show that against the customer record, and that would be the invoice that you're picking up each month for that customer. Okay. So the final bit that I kind of wanted to go through with you was the print audit integration. It's been on the development list for a period of time, but really important feature and functionality and integration that gives customers opportunity to really improve the efficiencies of managing their MPS through Prima. Okay, So it essentially works in two ways in this what we'll call the first phase. So the first part of it is importing all of the contract information. So importing all of the contract information from Print Audit. And I'll just bring up a Prima. So we've started with these three bits. So what happens is you would have your machines set up on your Print Audit account, and what Prima will do as part of this new routine is your Prima account will exist, and then when you hook Prima up to Print Audit, what it will do is it will look at all the machines that you've got in your database, and where the company name matches, it will bring all their machines into the system automatically. So generate the support contracts for those machines automatically and bring the machines in, and it matches on. So I go into this record here and find one of these machines. So this is hooked up to the Print Audit area now, so it will match on the serial number and it will match on the MAC address of that machine on their network, and bring that machine into the system automatically. So all that info arrives in Prima, and then depending on which machines you charge for and the copier stuff, that is the billing is handled in Prima. So you would set up your counters with your charges, etc. Color copies, mono copies, free periods, charges, as you normally would in terms of being a customer using MPS through Prima, and then that would build the invoice lines essentially. So what happens is Prima's got the contract stuff. You move the items into the contract, the machines that you want to manage through here, and then in the FSM area of Prima, you then have, we've already got it open, the meter readings associated with those contract lines. So Prima now has visibility of those machines from a contract point of view, and it also has visibility now for the information with regards to the readings. So what would happen is when you've got your next invoice or next reading dates within this lookup here behind, look at your next reading dates, and what will happen is, sorry, got quite a few Primas open here. I'll just bring it back up. Where are we? This one, sorry. So you'd in the contract have your next reading dates, and then essentially what can happen is every day you'll have the readings feeding into Prima. So at the point that you want to invoice, and based on the good reading days, etc., that you've got set against the customer's counter, apply the imported reading. Prima will update the value here, and then you complete the reading and invoice the customer. So you don't have to contact the customer anymore. You don't have to hang around and wait for that feedback. You can just look at your next invoice or next meter reading dates and just use the system, get the information for the system, and bill the customer very efficiently. On the back of that, what we're also getting into Prima is information with regards to the call logs. So the alerts that you set up in Print Audit, I apologise, but it's not our fault, but the Print Audit website is having maintenance issues at the moment, so it's actually down. But I would have liked to have shown you the Print Audit side. But what will happen is you set up the alerts in Print Audit to say low toners, system failure in terms of the machine being offline, and all those alerts will essentially feed back as call logs to Prima's database, and then it'll allow you as a user to action those things. So example here, tell you the machine number, the IP address, the number, and it's polling all that information. You can you choose in print audit the information that you want to bring back, but the alerts that you've set up. So I've got one here: system offline, door open. So it's telling me that machine's offline, but it might be we need a toner request, and then from the call log you can build your engineer call out if that's what's required, or you can service the account with a part, as you would if you're using Prima for the FSM module. If you're not using Prima for the FSM module now and you think there's an opportunity here for you to do something, then certainly give us a call and we can help you with the setup of it. So it's bringing together one of the best products in the industry in terms of MPS, and making this process in terms of servicing your customers from that really efficient through Prima. And this, we anticipate that there's lots more we are going to do with this area of the system. So it's meter readings, it's populating your support contracts, and it's having the CRS logs to service those machines once they're out in the field, all coming into your system, and Prima being fed that information periodically. So we're really excited about this, and we've got a few customers running with it in the next couple of weeks. I'm happy to speak to anyone who wants to talk about it to give you some more feedback. On a kind of smaller note, we've got a couple of bits in here that have been on the enhancement request for a while that have dropped into this version. So I think I had a couple of orders and quotes open. So something that was, I suppose, missed from the old version, the very old version of Prima into this version, was just showing how many records were on the orders and quotes. So you've got that back in there now. We've added in the last version into the receipts. So if I just go into we got this one, we go into the receipts. If I look at any outstanding receipts, you've got the option on the receipts. If I'm booking something in on the receipts, I've got an option in here now to choose where the goods are going to end up. It doesn't have to go into that default location, and we've got an option there in terms of setting it as the default, and that's going to be as per the next version. That's kind of getting the stuff in there, and then as per the next update, you're going to be able to set that default location, so that changes the default for your stock for that particular product. So really nice, convenient feature, and that's the point when you potentially want to do it, is at the receipt. So we'll communicate again on the newsletter, and we can send it out again on the just one of our MailChimp is the link to the release notes. There's been a lot of changes in this version, and yeah, obviously it's too much potentially to go through in one go, but you can read the bits, and you'll see we'll put the best bits of those into the newsletter and things, so you've got visibility of those. So I mean, that's all I wanted to cover today. If you've got any questions on what we've been through, then we'll hang around as always to answer any questions you've got, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for your time. Cheers.